All right, we're going live into the vehicle right now with Jenny Donnelly and who do we have? Pastor Russ Johnson, and was that Ross also in there?
I know.
Yeah.
Two similar
I got
names.
Russell and Ross also, both of them. They're all friends of mine, and boy, have
Jay
you guys
Koopman,
stirred
too.
up something.
No Shay.
Oh, and a driver. Good.
Jay Koopman right here. Yep.
Hey.
All right. So what? I'm going to be covering this. In a moment, everything that's happened. But what is it you're going to attempt to do now? You've got your counter meeting or rally going on tonight. Is that right?
Yeah. So we are going to the Seattle City Hall right now, and we are giving a response. It's a worship protest in response to Bruce Heller, the mayor of Seattle, his response to our May Day event that we had this last Saturday in Seattle.
So now, when did you know you were going to have trouble? Was it the moment you got there you could see the army of the opposition already? I mean, or did they just kind of show up out of nowhere? Help recreate it for those of us that are wishing we could have been a fly on the wall and seen this.
Okay, so our event officially started at 5 o'clock, but we did an outreach for a couple hours beforehand, like we've done in every other city. And that outreach was from 2 to 5. And at noon, we had protesters show up. We were told protesters were coming. So we set up a barricaded area, not barricaded like in the sense of like, crazy, but like an area. We set up an area in our permitted and paid for spot, I might add, and allowed the protesters to come and, use their First Amendment right to say their piece. Protesters coming. We want them to come. We want them to be part of this. They were part of it in New York City when we were there for May Day, and they were very peaceful. We were glad they were there. But what happened was the nonsense broke out almost from the very beginning. And by, I don't know, it was like 2:15 or something like that, we had several arrests already made because of the violence that was happening with several of the protesters. I think it's 23 arrests right now.
Wow.
Well, you've got the mayor, made some incendiary, crazy response, and Pastor Russell has already responded to that. Let me just quote him. He says that he wants to have a review of all circumstances of the application to understand whether there were legal location alternatives or adjustments. And a lot of this is in the face of an extreme right-wing national effort to attack our trans LGBTQ communities. And that has nothing at all to do with your agenda. The last thing in the world you're doing was over there attacking people's sensitivities. Tell me, just so people know about this, what's the purpose of your rallies? So that, because there'll be much interest in this going forth. Your stated purpose is what?
Yeah, so we are coming to these cities to pray, to bless, to worship, and to take a stand for family in the next generation. We really believe that as the family is restored, America will be healed. So we're taking a stand for that, don't mess with our kids to the streets of these cities. And that was the goal. That's been the goal in every city we've gone to. And it's been beautiful up until this craziness in Seattle. We've been, the mayor said, is it speculated that we actually came to provoke and we inspired this violence? Wow. Well, not to get into the weeds too much here, but we actually requested Pike Place first, and over and over again. They sent us to another spot. We couldn't get a permit there, and we were kind of ping-ponged around until Cal Anderson was a suggestion that they gave us. And so we went to Cal Anderson. The police were not notified until 48 hours prior to the event. And so I think there was a concern there that they weren't even notified about it. But like Pastor Russell said this morning on an interview, nobody's asking Antifa for their, where's your permit, right?
Yeah.
Like we actually created an area that we paid for, that we went through the process so that they could be there, and no one's asking them, where's your permit? You didn't pay for nothing. So I just think it's super interesting and very, very biased. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that the mayor said, and are you losing me through this tunnel?
You're fine right now.
You're fine.
Okay.
I mean, I want to read this for our audience. Where the mayor,
Okay.
this is the part that drives me crazy. The mayor says we stand with our trans neighbors when they face bigotry and injustice. You can tell that Jenny Donnelly's not after people. Today's far right rally was held for this very reason, to provoke a reaction by promoting beliefs that are inherently opposed to our city's values. So I guess their city's values are against Christians, against God, against worship, against moms, and against families. That's the only way I can read into this, is that they feel like your very existence is an offense to their. I wonder if Seattle, if the vast population of Seattle is actually in agreement with this mayor. At some point, there's going to have to be. I think the pastor here is calling for that. There has to be some consequence when a mayor has the audacity to issue a release blaming Christians for a premeditated violent attack from Antifa, with the arrest of 23 Antifa agitators. As I understand it, none of you guys were arrested. You weren't doing anything.
No, and I have to say this, I'm going to avoid language that would be so offensive, but we're not talking about people just holding up offensive signs and whatever. Who cares? Like, people come and want to say their piece according to the First Amendment right. Do it. That's America. Thank God we have a place where you can have freedom of speech and gathering and worship. But Lance, I had to remove my kids from the event and have them go back with a caretaker to the hotel. There were people doing sexual acts on the lawn in front of the kids.
Wow.
One of our youth at our church had a knife pulled on him. This was a teenager, and said, "I'm going to rip your throat out." Okay. Throwing balloons, not with water in them, but with urine in them. There was gas, tear gas. There was, our production guy got sprayed with pepper spray. I mean, I could just go on and on. And, I don't know what it's going to take for the church to stand up and say, this is enough. To keep our city officials accountable is not like rebelling against the word of God here. I mean, to keep them accountable is so incredibly important. I know as Christians, we haven't been super active in that, but I'm done on a personal level. I do not want to see my kids growing up in something where Christians can't fight for their communities and fight for the rights of an American. So anyway, we've just all hit a tolerance level that we're saying, no, Mayor, you're not going to get away with this. You're not going to write this stuff. And you're either going to publicly apologize, retract the statement, or you're going to resign.
Yeah. And I would say too, Jenny, it's fascinating. And I'm just going to clarify, because they always do this to Lance. When Jenny says fight, she means ideologies, belief systems. We're in a battle of public persuasion and holding people accountable. But it's almost a Book of Acts level mob rule. And you see it, you see it in the book of Acts, where lewd fellows of a debaser sort are stirred up when you're coming against the principality and the ideology of a different city, of a region. And so it just is so reminiscent of book of Acts, that you're bringing love. You guys were handing out bikes. There was worship happening. There was nothing hostile. And to think that presenting an alternate way of living, that if you don't support the woke ideology of, transgender youth, and you want to say, God, there's a different way to live. God has a different alternative for your life. That just that message alone incites that level of violence that you just outlined. It's shocking to think this is America, this is Seattle, and that you have a right as an American citizen to present a different way of thinking. And our belief system is not any less relevant than the woke mind virus. That self is not more enlightened. And in fact, I think more and more people, especially young people like you're seeing, are waking up to the reality that culture offers only ashes, and that Jesus Christ is the hope of nations. So I just had to get my little rant in there.
Do you have a couple minutes? I'd love for Ross Johnston, and then if Pastor Russell wants to weigh in on this, because they are bringing some incredible points to the table. So I'm going to go up and find my camera angle here.
Well, hey, guys, I just want to add in here, I think what's really important to understand is after everything that we endured, within an hour of the event, the mayor of Seattle, Bruce Harrell, decided to release a statement where he actually chose the side of the protesters, those 23 arrests, those who were performing sexually lewd acts in front of children, not to mention, as Jenny shared, were threatening many people at the gathering. And so it's really important to understand, and I said this a few days ago, I think the mayor forgot that he was an elected official in the United States of America. You know, he said that our values were provocative and attacking that community because they're inherently opposed to what Seattle believes. And my question is, what values is the mayor referring to there? As Americans, as Christians, as the church, no matter what background you come from, we are all protected under the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And so here we are, guys. We've been praying for revival and reformation, and now we get to take a stand at the Seattle City Hall, believing that now truly is the time for awakening in America. We aren't just praying about it. We aren't just talking about it. We are actually going to see it with our very own eyes. We are not just dethroning principalities. We are dethroning politicians. It is time for the Book of Acts Church to arise, and what a time to be alive and an opportunity that we get to walk in today. So thank you for everybody who's supporting us on this journey.
Yeah, so well said. Okay, Pastor Russell, I know you're back there typing away. Do you have a comment that you'd like to say? Yeah, we're on here. He's working away, guys.
He's out there working.
Yeah.
Working.
Bye.
Come on.
Amen.
We'll
Ready
send
to
the
rally.
message to President Trump. That's his mantra.
Yeah.
So how can people keep track of this? Give us a way of following on social media so that now that we've got the nation's awareness about what's happening, how do they keep track of this?
Probably to get the most update of what's going on, you can follow any of our social media. You have Russell B. Johnson, right? Yours is Russell B. Johnson. And then yours is Ross Johnston. And then Jenny Donnelly on Instagram, X,
All the platforms.
all the platforms. And it'll probably be on several different news stations all over the place, like this has been. I mean, there's been major news coverage on what happened on Saturday. So we'll see what happens after tonight. But thanks for having us on.
And you have one more event coming up too, Jenny, right? May 31st in Los Angeles. So if you want to join Jenny and get in on the road show, bring the love of Jesus, stand for truth. You know, the one thing I was going to get in there after listening to Ross, what I love about 1 Corinthians 13, you know, it talks about love, and we always read it at weddings, but there's this line in there that love does not rejoice with iniquity, but it rejoices with the truth. And so when the left tries to mischaracterize what love is unconditional acceptance, but love does not rejoice with iniquity. It rejoices with truth. So we speak truth in love, and that is what I love about the May Day events. You guys are the epitome of that. And so we just thank you for being with us today and doing the impromptu live.
Yeah, we're with you, calling out the religious bigotry of Mayor Bruce Harrell and the Seattle City Council. You guys are the Rattle in Seattle, and we're going to be not only praying for you, but I'm praying that the Christians that are there show up. And, you know, Christians get nervous at these things, but I can pretty much assure you the mayor now knows he has a problem, and the last thing he wants is further incidents outside of his own domicile, his courthouse, so where they're holding business. We will be back, Jenny. We're going to be following you later and checking in on you.
Thank you so much.